My name is Kerrie, and my goal is to inspire healing and meaning in all areas of life. In this podcast, we will dive deep into conversations. From heartbreak to freedom, we will explore different self-care modalities, learn to be the best expressions of ourselves, and to live with purpose. I'm here to offer my personal insights and to share my story in hopes that it will guide you on your path. This is Heal with Care, a journey of self-discovery. So, if someone told you that they can show you how to connect with spirits, would you be curious and want to learn, or would you run for the hills? I'd say I'm a naturally skeptical person, and I have to see it to believe it. I always tell people that they need to have their own experiences and decide for themselves what it is that they want to believe. I've always kept an open mind because Ghost Whisperer with Jennifer Love Hewitt was one of my favorite television shows growing up. One day after meditating, we were socializing and someone from the group mentioned that they were attending the mediumship circle that was starting up. They told me it would be so fun and that I should consider attending. Plus, everyone can learn to follow their intuition and they can learn to connect with spirit. I was feeling drawn to this group, so I couldn't help myself. I decided that I would attend next week's mediumship circle because after my experience with a medium the month prior, I was curious to know how all of this worked. Could I really connect with spirits? I had something to look forward to, but who was I going to talk to all of this about? My partner? My family? Nobody I knew had ever talked about this stuff before. Yet, I felt like I had some sort of insight into this world due to my past television interests growing up. I decided I would mention this to a friend in passing because they had followed me on a trip when I took a paranormal course back in college. That's right, my interest in the spirit world has been there for most of my life. I just didn't really know it. Anyways, I was told to be careful because I may be walking into a cult, and this made me worry and second guess my choices. But my curiosity was more than what anyone else could tell me. I didn't tell my partner at the time where I was going. I just told him that I was going to a meditation group. I figured instead of being called out as crazy, I was on a mission by myself to discover how all of this works. If I'm being honest, I was a bit nervous and scared. I remember my thoughts were, would I see a ghost? How would I feel? Would I run for the hills? I remember arriving early because I had never been to this place before and I don't like being late. I remember my heart was pounding as I slowly walked up to the front door. My thoughts were, would I see dead people after I leave this house? My imagination was running wild. When I got there, my energy shifted and all my worries went away. Everyone was so welcoming. I felt very comfortable. People were telling me I was going to have fun and I had nothing to worry about. Everyone was so personable and funny. It was like a lovely gathering of people. The person who hosted this circle told me there were a couple of spirits hanging around the house, which freaked me out a bit, making me move closer to the stranger that was sitting right next to me, like they could save me from a ghost. But what happened next surprised me. First of all, I want to talk a little bit about spirit. And when I say spirit, I mean it could be anyone from a loved one who is on the other side, our spirit guides, our angels, basically anything we can't see in the physical world. So the way that we communicate with spirit was much simpler than I thought. When you're able to quiet your mind, you can make space for spirit to drop in information through our different senses. And we can see images and visuals in our mind's eye. For example, If you close your eyes and you imagine you're holding an apple, you see the apple, you notice its texture, you notice its color. That's what seeing looks like when you're receiving visual information. It's like you're daydreaming or using your imagination. The only difference is that you're not trying to think of something in particular. It's as if someone has placed information there. It's not connected to any string of thought that you were having in that moment. We can also get information from spirit through feeling it. For example, you can have a sudden wave of emotion, or maybe you have a brief moment where you feel a little bit of tingling in a part of your body. Sometimes that is spirits giving us signs of how they are feeling or how they passed over, or trying to help you understand a message that they're trying to pass on. We can also hear the information. And for me, the voice in my head sounds like me, like how I'm talking aloud, but in my mind. But when I'm intentionally connecting with spirit, I find they usually repeat the words a few times in my mind so that I know that it's them talking to me. For example, if you think about your best friend and you imagine them calling your name and you hear what that sounds like, that's what it will sound like in your mind. And if you're like me, you sometimes talk to yourself and you're having a conversation and you can hear that. It's like your thoughts in a way. So that's what hearing sounds like. And it usually feels like you're using your imagination or making things up. But the key is to really trust the information. And that takes a lot of practice to discern the difference between your thoughts and the information that spirit is trying to give you. And that's it. So no, I didn't end up seeing any ghosts like they showcase on television. And while I do understand some people actually see them, I'm not someone who's able to see them in that way. And I'm pretty sure if I did, I'd be really terrified. So here is a really good example of how spirit was able to communicate with me really early on. Remember before when I found this meditation group, I had mentioned that there was a voice in my head and it was telling me to find a meditation group. To me, that sounded like me, but the words were, I think you should find a meditation group. And that kept repeating over and over in my mind. Looking back at this moment, it came out of the blue, which meant I was communicating with spirit. I'm not sure who it was, but someone was guiding me to go in this direction. And I no longer believe in coincidences. I know I was being led to this group for a reason. And how spirit did this was actually quite clever. A couple of years ago, one of my coworkers began leading a guided meditation at the gym I was working at. The only reason why I attended this meditation was because I wanted to be able to step away from my desk and relax. He said that we could sit in a chair, which was more ideal and highly recommended, or we could lay on a yoga mat, which was fine, but sitting is still better. If I'm being honest, I was mentally exhausted from the work that I was doing, and I just wanted to take a nap during my lunch break. So I opted to lay on the yoga mat. During the meditation, 2 spirit animals came to me. At the time, I didn't understand it. I remember laying there closing my eyes. I can hear his voice come and go as he was speaking words for the meditation. I think I was somewhere between awake and sleeping. And then all of a sudden, there was a boar and a zebra in my mind's eye, and they came into my awareness at different times during the meditation. And I remember thinking to myself, why the heck am I thinking of a boar and a zebra? To top it off, when I came out of the meditation, I wasn't quite sure what a boar was in my waking life, but the visual that I had gotten was some sort of a pig. My coworker who was leading this meditation said to me, "That's your spirit animals." And I was like, a boar and a zebra? And that was very strange to me. But later on, I looked up on the internet what those animals meant. And it was very relevant to that point in my life. And funny enough, my other coworker that had joined the meditation with me said that they had seen a canary. But how funny was it that we both received spirit animals during the same meditation? And I don't even think that meditation had anything to do with spirit animals at all. It was just a generic guided meditation. Anyways, the point is, the voice that was in my head, who I now know is spirit, would have said, if they said, find a mediumship circle group, there was no way in hell I would have looked that up. But because I had enjoyed that guided meditation class from the past, they knew that I was going to go through this rough time, and I was more likely to look up a meditation group where it would lead me to that mediumship circle. Clever, right? Later on in my practice, I had read a couple of books from some well-known mediums, including Sean Leonard, Tyler Henry, Teresa Caputo, and James Van Praagh. I'm not a big book reader, but I read through these books effortlessly. And what I loved about their books is that they are very relatable, and they were able to best describe how they were able to connect with spirit. And seeing how they work on television first of all amazes me, and second of all, it shows me it's all about how you present the information. It doesn't matter how you've received it. It's how you communicate or translate the information so that it makes sense to the person that they are reading. Each of us are different in how we will communicate with spirit because it's based off of our own personal experiences. And so far, spirit uses my personal experiences to explain information to me, and then it's up to me on how I am able to translate it. So ever since I found this group about 5 years ago, I've been fascinated with connecting to spirit. It has been so helpful for me, for the people that I know who have went over to the other side, as well as to connect with any of my spirit guides. It has brought a lot of magic into my life, my ability to ask the universe questions and to get signs and validations. I actually have a few good stories that I want to share in this episode. So at the beginning of my practice, I just kept getting mind blown. I remember sitting in my room asking spirit to show me something that I would see in the next 24 hours so that I know that what I'm doing is real. And as I sat there, I saw in my mind's eye a green looking truck. And I don't know that much about trucks, but it looked like a truck that was from back in time. And I thought to myself, what the heck? Where am I going to see that? The next day, I was on my way to yoga class and I was driving. I totally forgot about this session that I had with spirit, and I remember seeing this pristine, green, old-timey truck driving 2 cars in front of me. It was exactly how I had envisioned it. I had to hang onto my steering wheel because I was in shock. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was the truck that I had seen in my mind's eye. Apparently there was a vehicle meetup of some sort near my yoga studio that day, but the timing of this was on point. The one thing that I remember learning was, have you ever thought to yourself, I knew I should have done something, but instead I did this? It's like you're going against your original gut feeling. And this is something that I've done many, many times, but it's like they say, just go with the first thought that you've had. And I remember when I started listening to my intuition more, it was a beautiful sunny day, and I had walked the dogs earlier that afternoon. It was coming to the evening, and I needed to walk the dogs again. And I remember closing my front door, and there was this voice that popped in my head and said, "Don't forget your sweater." I remember thinking to myself, but it's not cold out. And for some reason, I said, okay, I'm going back in. I'm going to grab the sweater because I had seen it on my chair on my way out. So I grabbed the sweater. And when I went down the elevator and outside, I started laughing because it had really gotten cold that evening. So I thought that was interesting. And I have one more story for you. I had asked for a sign from Spirit if I was ever going to have enough money to move out of my apartment. I was going through a difficult time and I said, I just need a sign, any sign. I am having a really tough time accepting where I am right now. So I left that up to them to leave me a sign. The next day, I was walking my dog and I was going the regular route, and all of a sudden, I felt like I needed to go left instead of right. So I went left. And as soon as I turned left, I looked down on the ground and I saw a $50 bill on the floor with nobody around. I laughed to myself because I knew this was a sign for me. I was asking about finances and I was looking for a sign. And in this day and age, we have credit cards and not a lot of us are carrying around cash. I also questioned my path many times when it came to mediumship, and I remember asking Spirit to show me a blue jay if this is part of my path. Not to mention that I was living in Toronto at the time, and if it was ever baseball season, people would be wearing Blue Jay shirts. And I was like, no, I don't want to see a Blue Jay on a shirt. And so when I was coming home one day, in front of the apartment was a blue jay sitting right on the railing staring at me. My heart stopped because I knew that was a sign for me, and the blue jay looked at me for a good couple of seconds before it flew off. This was the first time I had ever seen a blue jay up close and personal. So mediumship has opened my world to magic and guidance and things that I never thought were even possible. Now I know I'm on this intuitive path led by signs and validations from Spirit. The universe gives us choices, asking if we truly want to pursue this path. And for me, the answer is yes. I want to live a life with meaning where I can wake up feeling inspired. I'm able to create and help others. I hope that by sharing my experiences in this episode, you feel encouraged to explore your own connection to something greater, whatever that may be for you. Trusting your intuition, even if it doesn't sound fully logical, can really open doors that you would never imagine. Let yourself ask for signs and believe that they will come to you in uniquely meaningful ways. Life has a way of showing us magic if we're open to it. So I invite you to find these moments, trust your inner guidance, and discover the magical moments that can make each day feel a little bit more extraordinary. Embrace your journey, knowing that it's leading you exactly where you're meant to go. Thank you so much for listening in. I hope you found this episode insightful. If you feel called to, please share this podcast, subscribe to it, and leave a rating and review. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, you can email me at healwithcare@gmail.com or follow me on Instagram at healwithcare. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next episode.